Hey guys, I just kind of wanted to get on here and kind of be an inspiration to someone and just let y'all know, please listen to your bodies, take care of yourself, keep your faith, trust God, and know that He's going to carry you through. Um, a couple of weeks ago, well, I'm going to say before a couple of weeks ago, I had started feeling sick. I had started feeling a certain way. But I'm not the type of person to complain. I'm not the type of person to always just say something is wrong with me. I don't know why. I just always been like that. I don't like to complain. I don't like to bother people. So, y'all, I um, started feeling a certain way. I have been dealing with fibroids for years. And since I've been dealing with these fibroids, I have always had heavy bleeding. And it has caused me to become anemic. And since I have become anemic, I take iron pills. And um, over the process and over the time, um, I have been, just going through the motions, going through it. But it's just something about me. I hate surgery. I hate surgeries, and I got that from my granny. And, my granny used to always tell me, whatever I came into this world with, I'm leaving out of this world. And that took effect on me. I always heard her say it, so I would say the same thing. So I had got to the point to where I'm just like, the fibroids are not killing me. They're not, really causing a lot of pain at that point in time. So I'm not ready to have surgery. And everybody would say, Donna, you need to have surgery. You need to get those things out of there. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I would always, push it off, blow it off. And y'all, I started getting to the point to where I started seeing my stomach budge out. It started getting big. And I'm just like, this is crazy. So I started going on this weight loss journey and I wanted to lose weight so bad. So I started losing weight and I felt myself losing all this weight. But when I lost this weight, it was like I looked like a pregnant person. It was just like, dang, I'm losing all this weight, but my stomach is just like sticking out like I'm pregnant. So I'm just at a point to where I'm not even going to try anymore. I don't want to lose weight. So I started gaining all this weight back and I just started picking up all this weight. And I started just like, okay, I started giving up. I was just like, I don't even want to lose this weight or anything anymore. So I just started giving up. And my doctor would always tell me, Donna, you need to take your iron pills. But iron pills makes me so sick to where I would take it whenever, and I knew I needed it because what the fibroids was causing, it was causing me to bleed heavy, 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 to where it was days I couldn't go anywhere when it was that time. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And so I had to stay home no matter what it was. The first 2 days of my cycles, I had to stay home because it was that bad. And I knew right then and there, this was going on for years. So, I would always know when that time came, what I needed to do, what I had to do. And it was getting to the point to where I could not take iron pills. They would always tell me try with vitamin C, drink orange juice, eat, do all these things that I was doing, but it was not helping. So I went to this one doctor one time and he was just like, hey, I understand that you can't tolerate these iron pills. So why don't you just try to, take some prenatal pills because prenatal vitamins have a certain percentage of iron in it and at least you'll be getting some iron. So I'm just like, okay. So before all of that happened, I had got sick. One time I had got real sick and I had went to the hospital and at that point in time I had got pulmonary embolism. Y'all know what I'm saying. And I had got real sick to where I was just like, I couldn't do anything, y'all. I couldn't do anything. I could barely walk. I could barely do anything. I could barely breathe. And I just was just like, I cannot do this. I just cannot do this. So I went to the hospital And it just seemed like from that day when they told me that, I was just like, wow, it didn't scare me, because I have faith in God and I know God, was going to carry me through. And, I was in the hospital by myself. And, I just prayed to God and I said, God, I know you're going to get me through this. I know that you're going to get me through this. And I was just praying. And, one of the nurses was standing by the door when I was praying. And he was just like, you have so much faith. He said, because you know that this is serious, that this can kill you. In which I said, yes, I know, but I don't think like that. I don't think, you know, what if and this and that, because my faith is so strong to where I trust God to carry me through whatever situation that I'm going through. So he came in there, he was like, I'm gonna stand here with you because your spirit is up, your spirit is high, and everybody else in here, you tell them something and they just crying and they just this. And all the nurses was coming off in there and they was just like, wow, you have a great spirit. And they was just all talking to me. And I was just like, I'm not finna sit up here and say I'm gonna die. I'm not ready to die. I'm going to pray and I'm going to trust God and I'm going to let God guide me. And I know God, right then and there, as I was praying, God was already giving me peace. And once God give you that peace, you already know he's working in your favor. So, it didn't scare me. So the lady came in there, well, the doctor came in there. And normally when you have PE, they put you in a hospital. So I was like, ma'am, I can't be admitted in the hospital. I said, I got my son, he has seizures, and I told her about my son's situation. And she said, you know what? To be honest with you, she said, you do have several blood clots in your lungs. She said, but you're breathing at 99%, 100%. She said, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you go home. But they gave me a shot in my stomach and they put me on Eliquis, blood thinners. So I was just like, okay, that's fine. I'll do whatever y'all need me to do, but just do not admit me in a hospital. And I went home and I did what I needed to do. And everything worked out, for everything went from there, and so I healed from that. God got me through that. And just here months later, I had started feeling a certain way. My body started feeling a certain way. And I'm just like, something ain't right. Something is not right. This is not right. And it wasn't a feeling of when I had the PE. It wasn't that type of feeling. So I'm just like, wait a minute, something is not right. And this is not a feeling that I could just be like, this is the same feeling. I need to go back to the hospital to make sure. No, this was a different feeling. But I didn't tell nobody. I didn't say anything because I'm not a complainer. I don't like to bother people with my issues and with my problems, with my situations. So I never said anything. I just kept going. And I knew, I'm just like, something is not right. My body was changing. And I'm just like, maybe I'm going through premenopause. Maybe something else is going on with my body. And I tell y'all, it was horrible. So one day I got up. This happened 2 weeks. I was feeling down. I was feeling a certain type of way. I started feeling things in my chest, like it felt like something was stuck inside of my chest. I couldn't swallow. And I'm just like, whoo, something ain't right. I started feeling weak. I started feeling out of breath when I walked. But I just kept going. I kept getting up and I kept going. I love to pray. I pray. I ask God to carry me because I said, Lord, I can't do it. I don't know, something is going on. But I kept pushing myself and I kept going. And I knew that God was carrying me because I couldn't carry myself, y'all. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was showing up everywhere I needed to show up. But I was not just allowing myself to just needing and want somebody to feel sorry for me. I just wasn't, because at that point in time, I needed strength. I needed God. And that's what I was praying for, God to carry me through. Part two is coming next.